Women have been playing football for more than 150 years, and it's always been political. Some have been celebrated, but others have been ridiculed, criticized, and forgotten. This is the Forgotten 11, the hidden history of women's football.
I'm not going to the White House. No.
There was a lot of critics talking about us, but we're back, so suck on that one.
Give me the effing ball.
Playing like a girl means you're a badass.
We're here and we're live.
Hi there. So this is a joint episode between myself, I host the Forgotten 11, and these two, Julie and Karina. Why don't you guys tell us what you host?
Well,
where do we start? Where do we start? The Media Casters, Care More Be Better, Obsessed,
Nutrition Without Compromise,
Pod Teas.
Yeah, a few shows.
Yeah,
that's right.
But it's really the Media Casters. So.
Right. So today I'm with the Media Casters, and well, I mean, there's some cool news happened a few months ago. The U.S. U.S. women's soccer got equal pay, and because they win more games, they're actually going to get paid more. But then Friday, we had some really kind of shocking news that Roe versus Wade, Supreme Court decision from the 1970s, was overturned, which is kind of nuts. And everybody thinks it's about abortion. It's actually not. So do you guys know the original story of Miss Roe and Mr. Wade?
Well, I think before we do that, we should probably tell the benefit of the Media Casters, anybody listening, just a smidge about you and your podcast, right?
Let's do that, Carl.
Right? Because, I mean, this is going to be a deep subject. But I think that we should understand Chris McGlynn.
Right.
Chris McGlynn has a podcast called The Forgotten 11 that is focused on really educating people about the forgotten women in soccer who have been leading the charge for a long, long time. And he's a little bit of a different sort of fellow, because how many men do you know that'll go out there and start a podcast to feature the stories of women who have fought to be heard for a long, long time in the world of sports and get something like equal pay? So, Chris, I admire what you do. I appreciate that you're taking this time out of your day, in the middle of the day, at the Forgotten 11 Bar and Grill, as we call it, right?
Yep.
So that background music all of you are hearing, that's our beloved Chris at his Forgotten 11 Bar and Grill.
Yep.
So I guess we're getting back to the question. What exactly was Roe v. Wade?
Okay, so the original story of Miss Roe and Mr. Wade was 71, 72, something like that. They were married, but they were in the process of getting divorced. During that process, Miss Roe discovered that she was pregnant with presumably Mr. Roe's baby. But basically, she decided, because it was an unhappy marriage, she didn't want to, I mean, being a single mother at the time was difficult. A woman had only just barely gotten the right to, have a credit card or buy things like a house without a male co-signer. So she didn't want to raise a child alone. And Mr. Wade said, I want the kid. And so what Roe v. Wade, the final decision was that this husband, or former husband, did not have a right to interfere with a woman's decision on any medical procedure. So really, Roe v. Wade is privacy. It had the knock-on effect of essentially legalizing abortion, which in the 1970s was illegal almost everywhere. And that's basically what got turned over. Basically, the government now can come in and say, we can intervene between you and your doctor or you and your lawyer, unless there's a gun involved. That's the other weird decision that they came out with the other day. Like, you can take your gun just about anywhere, but you can't be a woman everywhere. It's nuts. So, what are you guys' thoughts?
Where do we start? It's become so divisive, I think. Well, I know this. It's become so divisive, and people are misinformed about what's going on. And I know Karina has thoughts, and I can ride on her coattails because I don't want to be utterly disorienting and just have everybody click off. But I think, political viewpoints aside, let's have a conversation and let's be adults about it and understand what we are wanting to voice, because our voices are everything. Without choice, we don't have a voice.
So, one thing, because they leaked that they were going to have this decision a few weeks ago. One thing that I thought was really interesting, because Roe versus Wade does not directly address abortion. In one way, it's a big opportunity for people in the United States. And by that, I mean Ireland was a Catholic country and abortion was illegal forever. But when they finally legalized it, they made a specific law that specifically allows and mentions abortion. So in that sense, Ireland has better protection for women than Roe v. Wade ever had. So that gives us, as Americans, the opportunity to codify it into law, if we can pull it off.
Well, my feelings on Roe v. Wade are so manyfold that I can't even begin. I think so often we run into this perspective, like even when it comes to Planned Parenthood, all Planned Parenthood is about is abortion. And that's all Roe v. Wade is about. And that's all this movement for women having autonomy is about. Oh, it's about, wanting to get rid of an unwanted child. I was in a room earlier today on the Wisdom app, and a gentleman joined me on the stage and basically said, well, what about personal responsibility? And aren't these women taking personal responsibility for their own lives if they choose or if they happen to get pregnant? And I just found myself getting so angry, because so often getting pregnant isn't exactly a choice. Women are raped all the time. Like, this is a fact. They might not have the resources that they need to travel to a safe place to be able to go ahead and get an abortion if they need one, for any number of reasons. And there is a direct correlation between access to this kind of reproductive care and harm to the mother. There's an increase in the rate of mother mortality when we don't have abortion protections in place. And that partially is because of the fact that women who may not be able to get routine care during pregnancy sometimes would choose to have an abortion because they just know that they don't have a lifestyle at the present time that allows them to have the kind of support they need to bear a child. And so now they're not getting the kind of protective care along the pregnancy route. They are essentially financially strapped by something or saddled with a child that they may not want, that might be the product of rape or incest or any number of other things. A failed marriage, like as in the case of Roe v. Wade. They might have had several children with one man and suddenly be like, I just can't take a sixth child. This is too much for me. And that's a lot of what drove the decisions in Ireland, a Catholic country in which, often women throughout their lives would have as many as 12 children. And that's a reality that we don't really understand as much anymore. But it's one that, in a way, it seems we would seek to create. Let's reduce your access to health care, and let's reduce your access to reproductive care. So it doesn't make sense for me that we're in a country in which our social systems both don't want to support people who have children of their own volition, so to speak. We want to take away social systems, and what you're saying, if we have to support these families, then we're creating a socialist society. Well, okay, so on one hand, you're saying a woman has to keep a child, and on the other hand, you're saying, but there's no handouts for you. You see what I'm saying? There's just we're creating a system that will just keep the poor people down and unable to escape present realities, which is the part that I think is hard to talk about, because there's an economic cost of this. If I had happened to get pregnant when I was 17 or 18 years old, my life would be much different today than it is, because I was able to go to college in my teen years and I was able to graduate and then go and do a profession. But if you don't have that reality, then what?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, in most of Europe, there's some form of socialized medicine, meaning everyone has access to whatever medical care they need, usually for free or very low cost. And here we don't have any of that. I mean, everybody has to pay through the nose for any medical procedures.
So I had to do some research on this for another podcast I hosted with Dr. William Lee when I invited him on Care More Be Better. The average cost of healthcare that an American spends each year is $11,836 per year. That's averaged over our entire populace. So, of course, older people are paying more, younger people might be paying less, but we're talking about from baby to 100 years old here, right? That's almost $1,000 a month.
Hmm.
So, how many people can really honestly say that they can afford to spend $1,000 a month on healthcare? The reality is, most of us get part of that covered by our employer, but what happens if our employer's insurance coverage doesn't cover the basics? What
Or
happens?
or you change jobs.
Or you change jobs, or you lose your job and you have to pay for Cobra, and that starts at about $600 a month, and you don't have $600 a month because you just lost your job, right? So there's all of these catch-22 situations that we find ourselves in, and taking away a basic right through which a woman could manage her own health is something we should all be concerned with. There are a smattering of companies who have now come out that said, look, we are going to support you. We are going to, for our employee base, and I'll mention two that I saw this happen with. Allbirds. Allbirds makes sustainable apparel from everything like, non-plastic based sneakers, so not from petrochemicals, clothing, Allbirds, right? Allbirds.com. They have some retail shops and they also sell online. They have employees across multiple states. And they have essentially said that they will go ahead and they will cover the travel expenses and healthcare expenses of any of their employees to get the reproductive care that they need, along with a support person, and they'll compensate for childcare as well.
Hmm.
Dick's Sporting Goods said the same. They gave a specific budget too. They said they'd cover up to $4,000, which I think is generous.
Hmm.
And now, since then, we've seen a slew of tech companies also join this trend, where they're saying, we're going to support our employee basis and we're going to do it this way. So that is commendable, but we shouldn't have to be there. And so I think this is my massive frustration point. It definitely has given me a few companies to look to for what I would say is an example of a responsible company that really cares about their employee base beyond any political ideology that they might have. So I think that's a good thing. But the thing that's shocking to me too is 85% of people think that Roe v. Wade should have remained in place.
Hmm.
And yet the Supreme Court just said bye-bye to that one. Good luck. And in how many? 13 states, I think it is, right, Jules? Both
Yeah,
North
it's
Dakota, South
mostly
Dakota,
southern states,
and
and I
then
can pull up all the states. But the truth
Idaho,
is,
Utah, North Dakota, South Dakota, Texas, Oklahoma,
Mississippi,
Missouri, Arkansas,
Sorry,
Louisiana,
Jess.
I think.
Missouri.
Yep.
We
And
know.
it
Yeah.
keeps going.
And,
Yeah.
and
It's 26 states. It will be illegal within 30 days.
wow. So what are they going to do? They're all going to come to Illinois or California, and I'm not kidding.
I mean,
They will, and they should.
The mayor of Chicago and the governor of Illinois they've already set aside money to become a sanctuary state to help people
And this is
with
crazy.
expenses. Yeah.
Do you know how much money I pay in taxes here in Illinois, and how
Mhm.
many more taxes? And not like I don't want to help those people in need, but the burden becomes exponential.
Mhm.
And this is the ripple effect. And just between you and I, guys, Chris and Karina, I have never had an abortion. I do have 4 live births, and the thought of aborting any of them is horrifying to me, just because of my choice to have the 4 kids. And there was a lot of struggles with that. But the fact is that I have known many friends that have had abortions for very different reasons, and they pay the price mentally for doing it. And I don't know where the government gets it in their head that they think that they can dictate how we should dictate our health, number one, and our fertility. It's something that if I had an abortion, I would be thinking about it every day. I would be, just because of how I was brought up. Like, I just couldn't. And I'm not right wing, left wing. I am in the wing that encompasses every voice out there. But I don't know how any government, and we did this with the masks, we did this with vaccinations. Now we're doing it with abortion or for reproductive rights. Like, when does it stop? When are we going to say, like, when do we have control over our own bodies and what we're doing? Tell me that, Chris.
I mean, it's just the idea that a third party, government or anybody, can tell me what medical procedures I can have. Like, that's just bonkers.
Yeah.
Why
and
does
we're getting a
religion
comment-
and religion comes into it? I'm sorry, Karina.
Oh
I'm
no, we're getting
fired
a
up.
comment from Jessica Dalby. She says, "Imagine how I feel as a person who served her country for all people, but it seems women weren't involved. That's my personal feeling."
Wow.
I mean, this is a reality. This is a very emotional topic. I mean, I also have never had an abortion, but one of the things that frustrated me to no end was how much people would speak out against Planned Parenthood as baby killers or whatever, or protest in front of them. And yet the services they provided were far reaching beyond that, to the point where I even, as a 19-year-old without healthcare insurance, was able to get service there so that I didn't become pregnant
Right.
with an unplanned pregnancy. So, that I was able to get access to these things that I needed. And the reality is, in many states, they're trying to limit access to Planned Parenthood as well. So suddenly now you have Roe v. Wade gone. So what's going to happen in those states specifically for the Planned Parenthoods of the world? Are we essentially moving into a period by which we have to, shuttle women across a border to get to a state to be able to get reproductive care that she's decided she needs for any number of reasons? But, I want to point something out because I think this is critically important. This is what's kind of at the root of my biggest problem with Roe v. Wade being overturned. And that is that sometimes you have young girls in difficult situations where they now, they can't leave the state without their parents knowing, right? They might be living at home. They might have even been.
Well, and just if let's say it's a 17-year-old,
Yeah.
and I'm the cab driver, it's a felony for me to take you across the state line.
That's
If you're a
right.
minor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She's a minor. And some of these areas, they want to have protections in place to where the parent actually gets to make the decision and not the child.
Mhm.
So, there's all sorts of laws that can come into play that can restrict a young woman's ability to be the master of her own body. And in some cases, it could be that child is a product of rape. Could be from a family member. Like, there's all sorts of reasons that she might have a difficult time coming to her parents to say, this is my reality right now. Right. And now we've taken this choice away, and she will not likely be able to shuttle herself across state lines. So what happens? A backroom abortion, something like we saw in Dirty Dancing from the 80s. I mean,
Wow.
when was the
You
last time
brought
we
up
really
Dirty
thought
Dancing.
about that? Remember? It's like,
Yeah, I forgot about that, actually. Wow. It's so true. And you're leaving people with little choice. It's funny, and marijuana's legal here in Illinois,
Yep.
So
well, in California too.
smoke some weed, get pregnant, and then shoot somebody. We
Yeah.
can have a good
What-
time.
One thing that I find incredibly hypocritical, a lot of the people that have been wanting to see Roe v. Wade overturned and restrictions on abortion, they say it's for religious reasons. They say that, the Bible says abortion is wrong. In fact, the Bible says the exact opposite. Numbers 5, chapter 5, verse 5, whatever, specifically says...
Wait, chapter 5, verse 5, whatever. I love that.
Yeah, but anyway, Numbers 5.
He's quoting
You're-
the Bible. This is
you
not
are
my
an
subject.
expert. chapter 5, verse 5, whatever.
Yeah. Anyway, so if you look it up in the Old Testament, it specifically says if the husband suspects his wife of getting pregnant from somebody else, to go to take the wife down to the local rabbi, and the rabbi will provide a poison so that she has a miscarriage, which is abortion.
Yeah, that's chemical abortion, right?
Mhm. Yeah, and it's been in the Bible as a legally sanctioned practice among the religious who've actually read the Bible for 2,000 years, and just in like the last 40.
Religious who actually read the Bible.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, there are a lot of people who claim to be religious that do not read it.
Yeah.
No, it's interesting. I mean, I don't remember chapter 5, verse 5, but I'm going to have to look that up, to be honest. And the hatred that's going on here in the country, the hatred is palpable.
Mhm.
Palpable.
Yeah.
Why do you as a guy care? I'm just curious.
Well, I was mentioning this before we started the live stream. There's a number of philosophers who have explored this idea. The idea that we, in conversation, become a third being. So, like, there's a me when I'm talking to myself or at home alone. But the idea that when you come together with another person, you're creating this third being that you get to participate in. And if for some reason that person is not my legal equal, then we can't create that we.
Hmm.
I can't have anybody with their head down or laying down.
No, that's powerful.
So I don't know the laws on a state-by-state basis, but I know it's going to be more difficult for women to get the care they need, to have the options that they might need. It's already become increasingly difficult in some of these states where doctors will have to refer to the fetus as a baby as opposed to fetus, right? They say, oh, well, your baby is, oh, well, this and that, just trying to personalize it. So we've been heading in this direction for a long, long time. This has been coming for a long, long time. So I think the bigger question is, what do we all do about it? How can we change back? I mean, has this got to be fought on a state by state level? It appears that way.
I think what we should do is something like what Ireland did. I don't remember if I mentioned it before or after we started streaming. Ireland, because it's a Catholic country, abortion was illegal for the longest time. But when they finally legalized it, they made it a national law that specifically mentions abortion.
Mm-hmm.
So
Wow, if Ireland can, accept abortion into their doctrine, that's crazy. Because
yeah, and it's a law, unlike here where it was a court decision.
And I'm reading here, I was just doing a little research as you're talking, that Texas and Oklahoma allows, laws in Oklahoma and Texas permit any citizen to sue another who is believed to have assisted a woman in procuring an abortion, which is scary for doctors too.
Or
Scary for doctors.
cab drivers even.
Wow.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
like,
under some of those laws, you can sue the taxi driver for dropping you off at a clinic.
Really?
Well, I mean, you joke about it being something like A Handmaid's Tale or that show on Amazon Prime, The Americans, where it's like there's a divide within a country where people are essentially having to operate on underground and get people across real or imagined borders to the space that they need to thrive. And I mean, I think the reality is that we're getting closer to that dystopian society if we don't change things. And so how do we do that? When we know that 85% of people generally think that there should be access in some way to abortive care, at least in certain circumstances, and now suddenly you've said 13 states and possibly 26 by the end of 30 days are not going to have the same access that they had before, are likely to limit or outright outlaw and ban access to this sort of care. At what point are they coming for Plan B? Is Plan B that chemical, basically supercharged birth control pill that you take after the condom breaks or whatever, is that suddenly going to be out of our grasp as well? Like, where does it stop? And so
Well,
I think that's
if
my
you read
concern. I
the-
think we need to remain vigilant. What was that,
It-
Chris?
If you read Justice Thomas' decision, he mentioned a whole slew of other cases that he thought, and they're all related to privacy and the government's ability to regulate the population. But the cases he mentioned cover gay marriage. It used to be that it was illegal to buy contraception for a married couple to do that. He mentioned that case. So I mean, this is, it's much bigger than just one single right.
So you're essentially saying that they're not coming for our guns, they're coming for our rights.
Yeah, your right to regulate your body, your right to marry who you love, things like that. One of the cases, I mean, in the 1950s, it was illegal in many states for a black person and a white person to marry each other. And
Which
that's
is the ultimate irony from Clarence Thomas, right?
Yes, if people aren't aware, Thomas is white and his wife, Justice Thomas is black and his wife is white. But he mentioned the case that allowed that, So, it's crazy.
Maybe he wants a divorce. I'm just.
That's a kind of a hard, long way to go for that.
I mean, it's so uncomfortable. I think sometimes you have to laugh, but that's the loving case, right?
I think so, yeah.
That was a great movie, by the way. But I'm wondering, like, is the government expecting us to self-regulate the population by giving us guns and not allowing us to control our bodies? Seriously.
Or we're just suddenly going to shoot each other all the time.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting.
School shootings on the rise, no problem.
Well, yeah, the South Side. Chris, are you near the South Side of Chicago? I mean, it's notorious for every weekend hearing how many people got killed.
Mm-hmm. Or at least in the summer.
Yeah.
Okay.
afraid
Or
to
did you
come to
guys see
Chicago.
the quote from Sarah Huckabee? She's campaigning right now.
No.
Oh, is this about Jesus?
Oh no, she said basically, the babies in that uterus will be as safe as our children are in their schools.
Wow.
Which sounds really crazy because these school shootings just keep happening.
Wait. Sarah Huckabee, she's right wing, right?
Super.
The babies in our uterus are going to
Yeah,
be
it
as
wasn't
safe in
the
the
exact
schools. They're
quote, so I'm
not
gonna
safe
pull
in
it.
the school.
Exactly. So people were like, what the hell is she talking about? It was completely tone deaf.
Yeah.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
Yeah, and this
What
is
the
just
heck?
like in the last couple of days. Oh, here it is. A kid in the womb will be as safe as those in classrooms.
Yeah, it's the opposite
Sunday.
of what she's trying to say.
Right, exactly.
Does she mean?
This was on Sunday. She made the jaw-dropping comment in her victory address last month when she won the GOP primary. The same day, 19
Oh, look at that!
children,
Perfect
2
timing.
teachers were
Just
shot.
perfect timing.
It's all Chris McGlynn.
Yeah.
They're coming for him at the Forgotten
You're
11
as
Bar and
safe.
Grill.
You're as safe as those babies in the womb and in the classrooms right now.
So this article is in Yahoo News or HuffPost. Sarah Huckabee Sanders vows a kid in the womb will be as safe as those in classrooms. It says, Arkansas gubernatorial candidate Sarah Huckabee Sanders vowed in a recent speech that she would make sure that a kid in the womb is as safe as those in a classroom. She made the jaw-dropping comment in her victory address last month when she won the GOP primary, the same day that 19 children and 2 teachers were shot dead by a gunman in a classroom at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas.
And I don't know if you guys followed that story, but they have since come out in that school shooting. There were something in the ballpark of 20 armed police officers outside that door within 3 minutes.
And they were
Wow.
afraid to go in.
Why?
That's really what it came down to. They didn't enter the building, Julie.
Well, no, they were in the
Oh my
class-
God!
in,
I'm
in
getting
the hallway
sick
right
to my
outside,
stomach.
Okay.
right outside the classroom. They were afraid to open the door.
Yep.
They were afraid to get shot.
Yep.
They
and
were afraid to put their lives on the line. That's what it
Yep.
came down to.
Even if they were all armed, 20 of them on 20 on one, they were
Yep.
afraid and they were armored up.
and trained, presumably.
Wow.
Yeah, it's nuts. Okay, so and it wasn't that Sarah Huckabee was even unaware. She even referred to the shootings, calling the horrific crime a stark and humbling reminder of just how precious life is. I
Yeah, we're
mean,
getting a
this
lot
just
of those
goes to
these
show.
days.
It just goes to show, like, the far right on the side of the whole gun control and safety of children thing is just completely out of line with like these. They don't understand that these two ideas are completely opposed, and yet they won't supply the support that our schools need or put some restrictive gun laws in place to ensure that we have more safety going forward. I mean, even if it was just an outright ban of AR assault rifles. Um, I mean, I know the issue is complex, but it's not that difficult to see that, other countries in the world have made changes when these sorts of issues have come up, and we don't.
Hmm.
We just don't.
Yeah, there's a. Are you guys familiar with the newspaper The Onion?
Hmm.
Every time that there's a school shooting, and they started this as a joke, obviously, but now it's just they do it every time there's a school shooting, and the headline is "There's nothing we can do about school shootings," says only country where it regularly happens.
Oh man. I don't know.
It's a
I'm
scary place to bring children. This is a scary world for children and for our future. And not just because of the overturn, but for everything that's going on. And the way people, the divide, the political divide, the religious divide, and that nobody wants to take time to understand anybody else's viewpoint.
Well, and there's I think another, and this part kind of gives me hope, as you mentioned. 85% of people are in favor of keeping Roe v. Wade or something like it. And basically that same 85% of people are for some kind of gun reform. Nobody really needs an assault rifle. So what it comes down to is there's a handful of really crazy people who
And nobody
are wanting,
needs a full-term abortion most of the time.
right.
I
But
get
the
that.
point is, it's a very small minority who work very hard to get their viewpoint across, and they work tirelessly, and they have been for 40 years to overturn Roe v. Wade. We need to vote them out.
Well, who are you voting for, Chris?
I already voted in the primary here, all blue, but it's Chicago, so.
Well, I have one rule that I started about 5 years ago because I was just sick of seeing a whole lot of white men in our Congress and in our basically every branch you can imagine is mostly
Arnold
comprised of white men.
Schwarzenegger, you mean?
Well, I didn't mind Arnold nearly as much as some other Republicans. I mean, he was governor here in California for a while, and I mean, honestly, yeah, he's kind of more fiscally conservative, but socially he's pretty progressive. So, whatever. Like, it wasn't terrible.
That works.
But I started voting for women. And I started voting for women first, and then I would go women minority first
Nancy
before a white
Pelosi?
woman. Sorry?
Nancy Pelosi.
Oh, I don't really care about Nancy, but what I will just say in general is I've been voting for women as long as they aren't like Amy Coney Barrett. And Amy Coney Barrett is a constitutionalist, a traditional constitutionalist. She is part of the reason that Roe v. Wade got overturned. So if the woman in particular was someone who had questionable desires with regard to Roe v. Wade, they were somebody I would not vote for. And so I just implemented this years ago. So even when it comes to like who's running for my local office or who's on to be sheriff in my county or on the judicial branch, like I'm just voting for more women because I think we need more balance in our systems. And when we have more balance, we'll have less of this crazy stuff happening. And that's my belief. I feel like we as a as half of the species have never really got a fair shake when it comes to leadership, at least here in the United States. And I think that we can create more reasonable solutions if we balance out the power. And so I'm fighting for women everywhere, and that's how I see. That's how I see it. I see a need for more women in positions of power in the politics and elsewhere.
Yeah, I agree.
See where it takes us, because certainly the status quo is not working.
Mhm.
We're sliding backwards.
Well, do you guys have any
I
last
feel like
thoughts?
Amy Comey Barrett is like Mrs. Waterford in The Handmaid's Tale.
Well, she is. I mean, I almost like that person was cast to be like her. Like, I feel like she may have been the inspiration in the very first part.
Really?
Yeah.
So scary.
There are women who are enemies of women, and I don't say that lightly. I've met a few in my lifetime, like women who seem to really hate women. It's kind of awful, but
I don't get those kind of people because I love my girls.
I know. You love your ladies. I love my ladies.
I'm a
too.
lady lover. Lady. Yeah, I'm a lady lover.
I mean, I don't know what else to say other than I
Chris is
think we
like-
all need to be willing
just
to
like-
act.
He's like, these girls just took over today, didn't they?
That's fine.
So what happens next? What do you think we need to do? Are we marching in the streets? Are we tearing down buildings? Are we all going to get armed
marched
to the
in the-
gills? And,
I marched in the Million Woman March on Washington.
Yeah, I mean,
in
people are already marching. I know that there are
27.
secret networks of women trying to provide these services. I mean, it, like they keep saying, the only thing they did is they outlawed safe abortion.
Yeah.
They outlawed safe abortion. That's right.
Wow. Well, we got to keep the conversation going. We have to keep it one of discourse, not discord. We need to understand other people's viewpoints, but I'm guessing that we are not alone. And again, does this have to do with religion? I don't think so. Does this have to do with politics? We're told so. We're told it has to do everything with politics, and the government is telling women how they can control their body and what they can and can't do. And it's so funny. I hate getting political, and I know we probably should wrap this up shortly, but so a certain party is telling us that we cannot do certain things with our bodies as women, but then also mandating other things that we're doing. Anyway, I love the music. You're disarming me with the music, because politics and religion, this is what we're not supposed to be talking about in around fine circles like ourselves.
I was just correcting our statistics. It was 85% of people want some form of gun control beyond what it presently is. And 69% of Americans wanted to keep Roe v. Wade intact.
How many people?
69%. With just 30% wanting the ruling completely overturned. So
And
still, that's like 7 out of 10 people wanted it intact.
Yep.
So this is not the will of the people.
It's the will of the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
And it's been stacked purposefully for an overturn like this for a while. And if you saw under the Trump administration, of course this happens. How many justices did he get to the point? So there was no chance. There was no chance because it was systematic and it was ongoing. So.
Yep. Well, we can stack the courts if we want to.
Well, people have to die. That's the thing. People have to die because something's wrong maybe with how the Supreme Court works.
The Constitution doesn't say how many members of the Supreme Court there have to be.
Right, that's right. So Biden could essentially appoint 10 people to the Supreme Court and balance it out.
We need to put this in the show notes. No, I didn't know this. And
Yeah,
you
so
think
this is
I would
fact.
know this, but I don't.
It's been debated for a while.
Wow.
If you do it once, now the argument is, well, the other guys will do it next time they're in office or whatever. But
yeah,
you get more people in the Supreme Court.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it before. FDR did it. It's not easy. But what we've got now is like we mentioned, it's a small group of extremists who've been working a really long time to get this power. They've got it, and they're abusing it. They're abusing the people of the country.
Yeah, this was bound to happen. I mean, we knew this coming on. I mean, we saw this. I was like, we're political correspondents. We've seen this coming on. We're like CNN political correspondents. We knew this was going to happen. But if you do look back, you see like how with every passing of a Supreme Justice that someone very right wing, someone that is like Amy Comey.
Coney Island. Think of her
Coney
as
Island,
Coney Island.
yeah.
So Amy Coney Barrett.
Amy Coney Barrett, you know, it was being stacked for this to happen. And this is one of the pain points that people vote on. People vote on the right to life. It's one of the biggest reasons people vote all red on their ballots, because just for the right or not the right for abortion.
Yeah, gay marriage, abortion,
Yeah.
the biggest polarizing topics. That's right. But at any rate,
I could talk for like 5 hours because I'm getting all fired up, and I'm not sure I was fully versed today, but I know
maybe
what
we
I
can
feel.
stack the courts. I mean,
People have to die, Karina. The justices have to die or retire.
No.
No, we can just stack the courts. We
Yeah,
can
so
just-
Stack the courts, not the Supreme Court. Okay.
Yeah, but
no, Supreme Court. Yeah, you can add more justices to the Supreme Court at any time.
I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yes, well,
it's unlikely,
a
but
gamble.
it's a possibility. Like I said, it's not easy. But at this point, like, what else are they going to come after? Because
Yeah, what else
it's-
can they take from us? What else? I mean,
Well, they've come
tax it
after
out of
the
Yahoo.
gay marriage thing twice already.
Mhm.
So
Have they?
That's going to be the next thing.
If they
Yeah.
do, I'm leaving. I'm moving to Canada. I'm packing my bags up. I'm not kidding. Really?
Yeah, they're coming after. I mean, that's the thing. They
I'm
tried.
gonna pack my guns and I'm moving to Canada.
Pack your
We got-
guns and move to
we
Canada.
got
You
lots
might,
of guns
you might
in
have to
this
leave your
house.
assault rifles behind, my dear.
I have no assault rifles.
I'm kidding.
But so anyway, a good food for thought, and we're always so honored to be around Chris McGlynn. He makes us think a little bit differently, number one, and we're proud that he takes on women's issues like a woman does, and so that means he's one tough mother.
Yeah, it's taking something beyond the point of being an ally to an activist. So thank you,
Mhm.
Chris.
was it Madeleine Albright that said women's rights are human rights?
They are.
All right.
Madeline was a dear family friend, actually, so she's amazing.
Well, resurrect her, bring her here, appoint her president.
She's
I know-
dead.
I know. That's why I
Oh.
said resurrect her. One day we can dream, right?
Yep.
I'm
Are you gonna
dancing
play
to
us out
music.
with that music, Chris? Can you turn it up?
It's on the other side of the
Oh,
room.
I wonder what, like, I wish, like, some really cool, like, RESPCT came on next or something.
Right.
That'd be cool.
Let's will it happen, Jules.
Yeah.
Hang on. Aretha.
So, what do you guys think? We'll leave it there for now.
Yeah, I think we leave it there. We can say
I
hi,
think we really
Jess.
could be, I think we could be really great correspondents, CNN correspondents, for Fox News.
I wish that we could just talk about soccer today. But obviously with the ruling on Roe v. Wade, that takes precedence over everything. It's hard to put into words how sad a day this is for me personally, for my teammates, for just all of the people out there who this is going to affect. I say this all the time, but pro-choice means that you get to choose. Pro-choice allows other people to be pro-life if that is what works for them, or that is what their beliefs are, or if that is where they're at in their life. Pro-life doesn't allow anybody to make a choice. I think this, obviously, you can understand from an individual perspective how difficult it is to live in a country where you have a constant, unrelenting, violent, tide against you, an onslaught as a woman, we know that this will disproportionately affect poor women, Black women, brown women, immigrants, women in abusive relationships, women who have been raped, women who, and girls who have been raped by family members, who, you know what, maybe just didn't make the best choice. And that's no reason to be forced to have a pregnancy. It will completely exacerbate so many of the existing inequalities that we have in our country. It doesn't keep not one single person safer. It doesn't keep not one single child safer, certainly, and it does not keep one single, inclusive term, woman safer. We know that the lack of abortion does not stop people from having abortions. It stops people from having safe abortions. I would encourage people to understand all of the different aspects that overturning Roe v. Wade will have on so many, actually on everyone in the entire country. I just can't understate how sad and how cruel this is. I think the cruelty is the point, because this is not pro-life by any means. This way of thinking or political belief is coupled with a complete lack of motivation around gun laws. It comes with pro-death penalty. It comes with anti-health care, anti-prenatal care, anti-child care, anti-pre-K, anti-food assistance, anti-welfare, anti-education, anti-maternity leave, anti-paternity leave. This is not pro-life.